So you guys just saw me with a quick take on the Chicago Cubs on Confidential, and now this is Sports Business Insider. I am Denzel Snipes. This is Sean Russey, the sports agent himself. Be sure to check us out on all of our great channels. You can follow Sideline Sports. It's right down there at the bottom, obviously. Follow Sideline Sports on all of our social media channels. We're at Sideline Sport One. We are on YouTube, Facebook, X. We're also on DBTV as well as Believe Network as well. The Sideline Sports Show is on Believe Network. Quick rundown, real quick, because I tend to get long-winded when I do all the shows. So I'm going to run to you again, just in case you missed it, on Confidential. Monday night, Top Rope Talk. Tuesday night, Sideline Sports Show and Hawk Talk. Wednesday night, Confidential and Picked Off. Thursday night, Sports Business Insider. This is our first Thursday. And then Friday night, the Gauntlet, of course. Oh, and also, man, you know what? Shout out to Ken Whitley. Ken's Pat Show is now on the network. That's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And there's also First and 56 that comes on every Tuesday as well. So tune into all of our great shows. Hit the like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell on YouTube, of course, to get all updates and whenever we go on the air. So, Sean, how you doing today, buddy?
Everything's going good. How you doing, boss?
Doing good, doing good. I know we got a exciting game coming up, so let's go ahead and get to it. So, as you all see in the top portion, and also at the bottom, well, maybe not the top portion. I'm in the studio, and obviously I can see it. You probably saw the headline that there's an actual financial part of Tua's concussion issues. So, a week ago, Tua Tagovailoa suffered a concussion in the game against the Buffalo Bills. Now, we all know that he's had a bit of an injury history, but there's actually a financial aspect behind it. And I'm going to go ahead and pass off to Sean here in just a few seconds. But this is going to be touching upon insurance policies. If he should he decide to walk away, should he decide to stay? Basically, where he would be at financially. Sean, take it away.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting because they can keep him on IR for the rest of this year if that's what they choose to do, or if they choose to give him at least the year to decide. But right now, the policy is about 50 million. Essentially, it just offsets what they owe him if the doctors force him to retire. I think that's the most important thing to understand. If the doctors don't force him to retire, if he retires on his own accord, everything is kind of null and void. He doesn't get any of the money that he would be owed because and again, no one would blame him for doing it, but the money kind of hangs over him right now in terms of how it would play out. The doctors have to say he can't be cleared to play for the Dolphins to have to pay him. The total is 124 million, but the insurance policy would cover 45% of that this year. Next
Right.
year that drops to 36. So next year they'd be on the hook for even more if he was on the IR this year and then was to retire after the new league year starts. If it was the medical clearance issue, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't know if they'll give him medical clearance after what is hypothetically his fifth concussion. I know he's got four on record, but we'll touch on it more. There's belief he had three last season.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. There's the one that he had at Alabama, and you know what? And not to mention, and this is not concussion related, but he had a nasty, sickening injury where he had broken both hips his senior year at Alabama.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it
And
isn't even just the concussions. It's like at this point, it's his overall health, But I know the main part. It's easy to look at the concussions part because that's what he had so far in the NFL. But he's had actually quite the injury history.
yeah, I mean his first concussion is 2019 on record. Who knows if he had high school concussions, not on record. But so he's been dealing with it at least 5 years. And the interesting thing too is, if he does retire, the Dolphins could go after the signing bonus. Typically, it doesn't happen, but they could. It is an option to them.
Hmm.
Um, so there's a lot of again, there's a lot of money hanging over. Also, what is it? Obviously a very serious health issue with, especially with Tua, with his repeat his repeat incidents here. And it's not like he just goes down and he's knocked out. I mean, his body goes in all different directions. I've never seen that from a player.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And especially the one from 2 seasons ago. Now, it is worth noting, though, that before this concussion, he stayed relatively healthy. He's like ever since the concussion, the real bad one he had against the Bengals, he's actually started 30 games in the last 2 years.
Yep. Yeah, until this most recent hit. And, unfortunately, it seems like when he just gets hit a certain way, it gets that reaction. His hands go, he goes limp. And it's an instant concussion for him. Because honestly, the Damar Hamlin hit did not look as vicious as some of the other hits he's taken.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And the
And
crazy,
just coincidental, not to cut you off, but Hamlin was on a stretcher on the field, a year and a half ago, where the whole game was called off.
yeah, and something that didn't look like that bad of a hit.
No, and
Yeah,
I wonder if he does return, if he decides to wear the Guardian cap that the NFL now allows. Jonathan Taylor has been wearing it, the high profile running back for the Indianapolis Colts. He's one of few players taking advantage of it on the field right now. But I wonder if that's a route Tua goes if he decides to keep playing, because it is an extra layer that the NFL is finally allowing outside of the practice field.
yeah. And you want to know what's so crazy is I actually remember something like that back in the early 90s and 80s as well. There was another, it looked almost like a bicycle helmet, but you can
Yep.
place it on top of, yeah. And then somewhere along the way, they went away.
It just went away. Yeah, I remember several guys wore that kind of double looking helmet.
Yeah, yeah, and it was extra head protection, but touching upon should he retire, there have been many people who have been talking to him about this. Most notably, head coach Antonio Pierce, Raiders coach Antonio Pierce, and also some players as well. If you want to touch upon this,
Yeah, I mean, and Antonio obviously had a long, good playing career with the Giants. So it's not like he's just a coach that's telling. He's a former player, and I think based on the history, it's something that you've got to take seriously at this point, because just look at what some of the other guys have done outside of once they've left football that had 5, 6, 7 concussions. Especially look at Junior Seau, you look at Aaron Hernandez, you look at these symptoms of PTSD, um, and just the long term effects that he's probably already going to suffer from having had 4 concussions. Do you really want to add a fifth, a sixth on record, and probably definitely deal with these long term effects versus you know walking away and having the rest of your livelihood?
and isn't it said that it was these effects because Junior Seau actually ended up taking his own life. Uh, Safe to say, and it hasn't been said that this actually kind of contributed to it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I believe Stephen A. Smith said it today on his radio show that they can't open up your brain while you're alive. They can't even see what the concussion has done to you other than a couple brain scans to see like there's damage here, there's damage here. They can't do the actual scientific part of a concussion till you've passed.
Mm,
So no one's really gonna know the extent of the damage onto his brain until that day comes, hopefully way further down the line.
right.
But that's why that's also stressing, hey, walk away. We can't even really tell you what the long term effects are going to be at this point, because scientifically they still haven't figured that out.
Yeah, and also some notable players who had they retired early due to concussions or risk of repeat ones. Most notably Luke Kuechly. The crazy part is some of these guys on here have actually had. It's not like they were in the league, like 3 years or four.
Merrill Hodge retired at 29. He was really the first one. I believe that was 93 or 94. He retired at 29, citing concussion, concerns.
Yeah, but it wasn't. But you also look. I don't know if you remember a running back out of California, Javed Best. He actually got drafted by the
Yep.
Detroit Lions. He
Hmm.
retired after 2 or 3 years. So and then there's been others as well. But it's crazy because you got Merrill Hodge, right? But you look at some of these other ones that actually have had like a career, like Luke Kuechly, Frank Wycheck, Steve Young, Troy Aikman. Two of these names on the list are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and and the youngest, well, I guess the shortest career was Chris Borland, who retired right after his rookie season, who had an outstanding rookie season. Was went to Stanford, I believe.
Yeah.
And he came out and I think he had 1 concussion that year, but he came out and he just said, you know what, it's just not worth it. I've made a little bit of money this year. I'm going to go on and use my degree. But he walked away about 24 years old. I believe he's the youngest to walk away at this point.
Yeah, and you know what? Since we're on the topic of it right now, I actually am. So, going away from football for a second and going back to pro wrestling. I don't know if you remember one from the mid 2000s named Christopher Nowitzki. He
Yeah.
actually he retired early after too many concussions. He's currently an American neuroscientist, and he's the current CEO, and he co-founded Boston University CTE Center.
Yeah, and I know he goes around doing events speaking of concussions and the long-term effects and CTE. He's really, you know, gone above and beyond anybody that we've seen suffer a concussion to really dig into the issue.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, that's all we got for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for tuning in, and again, tune in to all of our great shows on the Sideline Sports Network. For myself and Sean Russi, we are Sports Business Insider, and we will see you later. Thanks for tuning in.